All right, so let's dive into AI. What's new with Google and OpenAI? We've got articles and demos on Gemini 2.0 and ChatGPT integrated into the iPhone 16.
Wow.
It's like everyone's suddenly an AI expert now, right? Real-time visual AI, web browsing agents, AI you can just talk to.
It really does feel like it's everywhere now.
Right, so like imagine you're scrolling through your feed and you see this demo of Gemini and it's like turning a picture of a car into a convertible.
Yeah.
Or someone's asking ChatGPT on their iPhone 16 to break down like a complicated news story.
I've seen those.
Which one of these is more interesting to you? Like Google's all-in-one power or OpenAI's like focus on everyday use? Keep that in mind as we go deeper.
It is a great question. It is interesting how these companies are like taking such different paths.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with like a head-to-head, right? Gemini 2.0 versus ChatGPT on the iPhone 16.
Okay.
Gemini 2.0 is wild. Point your phone at a plant and boom, it tells you like the species and everything.
I know.
It can even browse the web and shop for you.
It really shows like how much potential there is when you combine visual input with AI.
Yeah.
Think about the implications for like botany and education, even just like making everyday decisions.
Yeah.
You could be looking at a piece of furniture and instantly get information about like its materials, where it came from. Maybe even find the best price online.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm.
Okay, but what about ChatGPT on the iPhone 16? Having it right there on your phone, ready to like analyze images or just answer questions on the fly seems incredibly useful.
It's all about that seamless integration.
Yeah.
Imagine watching a video and then you can just ask ChatGPT to summarize the key points or explain a complex concept.
Right.
It's almost like having a super smart friend right there with you,
Yeah.
ready to help you understand like anything you come across.
So speaking of smarts, how does the performance of these models actually like stack up?
Well, if you look at the Web Voyager benchmark,
Okay.
that tests how well AI can navigate the web using visual input.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini 2.0 scored an impressive 90.5%.
Right.
That's like way higher than other models like Claude, which scored 52%.
Really?
So yeah, it seems to be like a real web browsing whiz.
Okay, so Gemini wins the web surfing competition.
Uh-huh.
Where does ChatGPT excel?
OpenAI models, including ChatGPT, are generally considered very strong in reasoning tasks.
Okay.
They do a great job of understanding and responding to complex questions,
Uh-huh.
which is super useful when you need a deeper level of like analysis or explanation.
So different tools for different tasks.
Exactly.
Google's going for power, pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Yeah.
While OpenAI is more focused on how AI fits into our everyday lives.
That's a great observation, and it'll be interesting to see how these different philosophies like play out in the long run.
Right.
Will people be drawn to the raw capabilities of something like Gemini?
Mm-hmm.
Or will they prefer the user-friendliness of having AI like tightly integrated into their devices, like with ChatGPT on the iPhone?
It's almost like choosing between a powerful sports car and a luxury sedan, right?
Yeah.
Both great, but for different reasons.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. I'm curious about like the tech behind these models.
Okay.
We've got sources here comparing the training data and the overall approach.
Mm-hmm.
What stands out to you?
One key difference is in the scale of the training data.
Okay.
Google has been leveraging its vast resources and access to information to train Gemini on a massive data set.
Right, they've got a lot of information.
This gives it a broad base of knowledge,
Yeah.
but also raises questions about potential biases and the need for careful oversight.
It's interesting because it's like with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Exactly.
Google is definitely pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
Yeah.
But what about OpenAI's approach?
OpenAI has been focusing on refining their models through techniques like reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Okay.
This means they're working to make their AI more aligned with human values and preferences.
So it's almost like two different schools of thought on how to build a better AI.
Yeah.
One focused on massive data and raw capability, and the other more on fine-tuning and alignment with human values.
Right.
It's definitely something to keep in mind as these models evolve.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of not just looking at what AI can do, but also how it's being developed and what values are being embedded in its design.
It's definitely more than just the flashy demos.
Right.
Now, before we get too philosophical, let's dig into some of the specifics.
Okay.
We've got benchmark scores comparing things like reasoning ability accuracy, even how well these models understand humor.
Okay.
What are some of the key findings that might surprise our listener?
One interesting result is that while Gemini excels in tasks that require understanding visual information,
Okay.
OpenAI models seem to have a slight edge when it comes to more abstract reasoning and language understanding.
So maybe Gemini's the AI you'd want to go to a museum with, but ChatGPT might be better at breaking down a complex philosophical argument.
That's a fun way to put it.
Uh-huh.
It underscores the fact that we're not talking about a simple better or worse comparison.
Right.
It's about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each approach and how they might be applied to different situations.
Makes you wonder what these strengths and weaknesses tell us about the way these models are learning, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A fascinating area of research.
Yeah.
By studying how these models perform on different tasks, we can gain insights into how they process information, make decisions, and ultimately how they think, in a sense.
Now, speaking of thinking,
Yeah.
our sources also touch on a pretty crucial aspect, the limitations of these models. Are there any potential drawbacks or areas where they struggle that might be important for our listener to know about?
One thing that stands out is that even with all their impressive capabilities,
Yeah.
both Gemini and ChatGPT can make mistakes,
Oh, really?
especially when it comes to tasks that require common sense reasoning or understanding subtle nuances in language.
So they're not quite the infallible AI overlords we might see in movies.
Not yet.
Haha.
And it's important to remember that they're still tools, albeit very powerful ones. They can process information and generate creative output,
Yeah,
but they don't have the same kind of understanding or awareness that humans do.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that leads to another question. How much should we trust these models? We've got research here looking at issues like bias reliability, even the potential for AI to be manipulated or used for harmful purposes.
Yeah, these are all incredibly important considerations.
Right.
Just because an AI model could do something impressive,
Like what?
like generate realistic images or write convincing text, doesn't mean we should blindly trust its output. It's crucial to be aware of the potential for bias errors and even deliberate manipulation.
It's almost like we need to develop a healthy skepticism when it comes to AI.
Exactly. And that's where critical thinking comes in.
Yeah.
We need to be able to evaluate AI-generated content, question its assumptions, and consider its potential limitations.
And speaking of potential limitations, one of the biggest concerns that comes up again and again in our sources is the issue of security, especially when we're talking about AI like Gemini that can browse the web access information, even make purchases.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
As we give AI more access and autonomy, we also need to think about safeguards.
Like what?
How do we protect our privacy?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that AI is acting in our best interest? How do we prevent it from being misused?
So it's not just about building smarter AI, but also about building AI that we can trust.
Exactly.
And that operates within a framework of ethical guidelines.
You've hit the nail on the head. The ethical considerations surrounding AI are just as important as the technological advancements themselves.
Right.
We need to be having conversations about how to develop AI responsibly.
Yeah.
And that includes addressing issues like bias transparency, accountability, and security.
Well said. It's definitely a lot to unpack.
It is.
So before we move on to part 2 of this deep dive, I want to circle back to that initial question I asked you.
Okay.
Google's all-in-one power versus OpenAI's focus on everyday use. After hearing about the capabilities, the performance, and even the limitations, has your perspective shifted at all?
It has. It's clear that both Google and OpenAI are making incredible strides in AI development.
Yeah.
But what really stands out now is the importance of the philosophical differences in their approaches.
Yeah, like how they're thinking about it differently.
It's not just about like which model is better,
Right.
but about understanding like the bigger picture,
Yeah.
their design choices, and how those choices might actually like shape the future of AI.
It's like we're seeing two different futures, right?
Yeah.
One where AI is this like super powerful tool that can do almost anything. And another where AI is like seamlessly integrated into our lives, helping us with like everyday stuff. Both exciting, but in like totally different ways.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And the question is, as these models keep evolving, how will those two visions coexist?
Right.
Will they like merge together, or will they just keep going in different directions,
Yeah.
leading to like totally separate AI ecosystems?
And what does that even mean for us, like the users? Will we have a choice, or will we just have to adapt to whatever wins?
Those are some really interesting questions. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't have any easy answers. But I think just asking these questions, being part of these conversations
Yeah.
is so important. It's how we as a society can help shape the way AI develops.
It's almost like we're at a crossroads, right? And the decisions we make now, like as individuals and as a society, will determine which path we take.
And those decisions are going to be influenced by a lot of factors.
Like what?
Not just the technology itself,
Right.
but also our values, beliefs, even our hopes for the future.
So, like, what kind of future do we want to build with AI? What are we excited about? What are we afraid of?
Exactly.
That brings up another really important point, like the impact of AI on society as a whole.
Yeah.
We've got sources here talking about everything from job displacement to the changing nature of work to the impact on things like art, creativity, even human connection.
It's a complex issue, and I think it's important to approach it with nuance
Right.
and be willing to have those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in all the hype or even like the fear around AI,
Right.
but the reality is that it's going to have so many different impacts depending on the context.
So it's not just like a simple good versus bad or robots versus humans scenario.
Not at all. It's about understanding both the benefits and the challenges and figuring out how to reduce the risks while also making the most of the positive impacts.
So how do we do that?
Well, for example, some jobs might be automated by AI,
Yeah, that's a big concern for people.
but at the same time, other jobs will be created and a lot of existing jobs will be transformed.
So it's not just about losing jobs.
Right. It's an opportunity to rethink work altogether,
Okay.
to focus on skills that are uniquely human, like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
And what about the impact on things like art and creativity?
Hmm.
We've already seen AI creating some amazing paintings and music.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Does that mean human artists are going to become obsolete?
I don't think so. I think AI can be a powerful tool for artists.
How so?
It can help them explore new ideas and push the boundaries of creativity.
Okay.
But art is ultimately about human expression, about connecting with others on an emotional level, and I don't think AI can replicate that.
So it's more about collaboration than competition.
Absolutely. And that brings me to another important point,
Okay.
the impact of AI on human connection.
Right. There are concerns that as AI becomes more integrated into our lives, it could actually lead to more social isolation.
Yeah, and less face-to-face interaction.
Especially with things like virtual assistants and chatbots becoming so advanced.
But I think it's really important to remember that technology is just a tool,
Okay.
and it can be used to enhance human connection just as easily as it can detract from it.
So give me an example.
Think about social media.
Okay.
Yeah, it has its downsides, but it's also allowed people to connect with each other across huge distances.
That's true. So it's all about how we use it, right? Like our intentions and the choices we make as users.
Exactly. And that's where education and critical thinking are so important. We need to be thoughtful about how we integrate AI into our lives,
Right.
to set boundaries, and to prioritize real-world interactions.
It's almost like we need to develop a whole new set of rules for how to interact with AI in a healthy and balanced way.
Yeah, like an AI etiquette for the 21st century.
I like that.
And it's not just about individual choices,
Right.
but also about societal norms and values.
Like, what are our expectations?
Exactly. We need to be talking about the role we want AI to play in our lives.
Yeah.
And holding companies accountable for developing AI that actually benefits us all.
Speaking of accountability, there's a lot of talk in our sources about the need for regulation and oversight of AI development.
Yeah, for sure. Especially as these models become so powerful and have the potential to impact our lives in such huge ways.
So how do we regulate something that's evolving so quickly?
That's the challenge. There are a lot of different perspectives on the best approach.
Like what?
Some people think we need strict government oversight.
Okay, to make sure AI is developed safely and ethically.
Exactly, while others think a more hands-off approach is better.
So, like, let innovation happen without too much interference.
Right. They're worried that too much regulation will stifle progress.
It's a tough balance, right? We want to encourage innovation, but we also need to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. It's not just about preventing harm.
Right.
It's also about making sure that everyone benefits from AI.
Okay, so making sure it's fair and equitable.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of potential biases in these models and make sure AI is used to create a more just and inclusive society.
So not one that just makes existing inequalities worse.
Right. It's about thinking long-term, not just getting caught up in the hype.
Yeah, thinking about the consequences.
Exactly. And that's why these conversations are so important. We need to be thinking critically about the ethics of AI, talking to policymakers and making sure companies are prioritizing responsible development.
It sounds like we all have a responsibility here, not just the experts.
Absolutely. AI isn't just happening to us.
Right.
It's something we're all shaping together.
Through our choices, our actions, our voices.
Exactly.
That's actually really empowering.
It is.
It's a reminder that we're not just passengers in this technological revolution.
Right.
We have the power to steer AI in a direction that benefits all of humanity.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about these conversations.
Yeah.
The more we learn about AI, the more we engage with these issues, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this exciting and sometimes kind of scary new era.
Well said. And speaking of navigating this new era, our sources also talk about something really intriguing: the potential for AI to actually enhance human capabilities.
It is a fascinating idea.
Like, what if AI could be our partner?
Yeah.
Helping us to think more creatively, solve problems more effectively, even connect with others on a deeper level.
It's almost like that sci-fi idea of humans merging with technology,
Right.
but in a way that's more collaborative than adversarial.
Exactly. So instead of being afraid of AI as this threat, we can see it as an opportunity to actually expand our own potential.
Precisely. Think about AI as a tool that can help us overcome our limitations,
Okay.
to see the world in new ways, and to achieve things we never thought possible.
It's a pretty optimistic outlook.
It is.
And it's definitely more appealing than all those like dystopian AI scenarios we see in movies.
I agree. I think optimism is important.
Yeah.
But we also need to be realistic and think critically.
Right.
We need to be aware of the risks while also embracing the amazing opportunities that AI offers.
It's like walking a tightrope, right?
Yes.
Staying balanced, staying focused, and being careful about every step we take.
That's a great analogy. And just like a tightrope walker relies on skill and experience to navigate that high wire,
Yeah.
we need to equip ourselves with knowledge, critical thinking skills, and a strong sense of ethics.
Right, to make sure we're making good decisions.
Exactly, to navigate the ever-changing world of AI.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but about how we as individuals and as a society choose to interact with it and shape its development.
Exactly. The future of AI isn't set in stone.
Right.
It's something we're all creating together.
That's a powerful thought. It leads us to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll explore some specific things we can all do to make sure AI is a force for good in the world.
Sounds good.
But before we jump into that, I think it's time for a quick...
Oh, hold on. Before we move on,
Yeah.
there's one more thing I want to add, something I've been thinking about throughout this whole conversation.
Okay, what is it?
We've been talking about how important it is for humans to shape the future of AI.
Right.
But what about AI's own agency?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, as these models become more sophisticated, more autonomous, do they develop their own kind of agency?
It's like the line between tool and agent starts to get blurry.
Exactly. And that brings up some really big questions.
Like what?
If AI does develop its own agency, what does that mean for our relationship with these technologies? How do we make sure their goals are the same as ours? Do we need to rethink our whole ethical framework to consider the possibility of non-human agents?
Those are some heavy questions.
They are.
And probably not ones we're going to have easy answers to anytime soon.
Yeah, but I think it's important that we at least start asking them now.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
The more we think about these complex issues, the better prepared we'll be for whatever the future of AI holds.
It's a reminder that this isn't just a technological journey.
Right.
It's a philosophical one, too.
Exactly.
We're not just building machines, we're redefining what it means to be intelligent.
And that's what makes this whole field so fascinating, so challenging, and ultimately so important.
Well, on that very thought-provoking note, I think we're ready for our final segment. Okay, so we've talked about like what AI can do, the potential benefits, and even some of the like philosophical questions.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But let's get practical. What can we actually do to ensure that AI benefits everyone?
It's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by it all, right? Like it's all happening so fast and we have no control.
Yeah, like what can I do? I'm just one person.
But that's not true. We all have a role to play. The first step, I think, is to just stay informed.
Well, we're doing that right now with this deep dive.
Exactly. But how do we go beyond that?
Yeah, like what else can we do?
Read articles, watch documentaries, listen to other podcasts.
Okay, so consume more content.
Yeah. But be an active learner. Don't just passively take it all in.
Right.
Like, dig deeper. Ask questions. Challenge your own assumptions.
So step 1, be an active learner.
Right. And then step 2, talk about it.
Okay, with who?
Talk to your friends, your family, your colleagues. Share what you're learning.
Yeah, get people talking.
Express your concerns. Brainstorm solutions. The more we talk about AI, the more it becomes part of like the public conversation.
It's like, don't just accept AI as it is. Demand that it be developed responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. And you know what else you can do? Vote.
Oh, yeah, like in elections?
Yeah, support politicians who actually get it.
Who understand AI.
Yeah, and who are committed to creating policies that like promote its beneficial development.
Right, because this isn't just a tech issue, it's a societal issue.
Exactly. And it needs to be addressed at that level.
At a policy level.
And don't underestimate the power of your wallet either.
What do you mean?
Support companies that are developing AI responsibly.
Okay, so like do your research.
Yeah, look into their practices, their values, how they're addressing things like bias, privacy, security.
So we can actually like encourage ethical AI development with our spending habits.
Absolutely. And here's another idea. Get involved in citizen science projects.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
There's so many ways to contribute to AI research, even if you don't have a technical background.
Really?
Your input can help shape these models, make them more representative, more aligned with human values.
That's pretty cool. It makes AI feel less like something that's being done to us and more like something we can actually participate in.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. We're all in this together, and we all have a role to play.
Right. It's a team effort.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to get involved. Make your voice heard and demand that AI be developed in a way that benefits all of humanity.
Well said. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listener with one final thought.
Okay, shoot.
We've talked a lot about AI's impact on society, on our jobs, on our relationships. But what about the impact on the individual?
Like on our sense of self.
Yeah, as AI becomes more a part of our lives, as we rely on it more for information, for decisions, even for companionship.
That's a good question.
How will that change who we are? Like our identity, our autonomy, our understanding of what it means to be human?
It's almost like we're entering a new phase of human evolution.
Right.
One where our relationship with technology is going to fundamentally reshape us.
It's exciting and kind of terrifying at the same time.
It is. We're standing on the edge of something truly transformative.
Yeah.
And the choices we make now will determine what that transformation looks like.
So keep learning, keep questioning, keep engaging.
Absolutely.
The future of AI is up to all of us.
Well said. And remember, the most important thing is to stay curious, stay open-minded, and never stop exploring all the amazing possibilities that are out there.
That's a perfect way to end it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI. We'll see you next time for another exploration of the ideas that are shaping our world.